Nebula network active, reported Communications Officer Song Haiyun. Enemy ships are cut off from Central Command. They can only communicate by conventional signals now. Jiwoo turned to Chief Engineer Park Tae-min. Prepare the FTL drive. For a short jump. The engineer looked surprised. We haven't tested the drive in actual combat conditions. No time like the present, Jiwoo replied. Set coordinates for the rear of the enemy formation. The Thunderchild's most revolutionary feature was its modified FTL drive. Unlike hegemony ships that could only use established jump points to travel between star systems, the human vessel could initiate short FTL jumps anywhere, a capability the aliens believed technologically impossible. As the massive hegemony fleet approached Earth in a standard attack formation, the Thunderchild suddenly vanished from orbit. Before the alien commanders could respond, the carrier reappeared behind their fleet and launched its fighter squadrons. All fighters, target their engines and weapons, ordered Fighter Commander Choi Min-ho. Stay unpredictable. Their targeting systems can't adapt to random patterns. The human fighters swarmed around the much larger alien vessels, striking with precision and immediately changing course. The hegemony ships, designed to battle other large vessels in formation, struggled to track the nimble Earth craft. From the Thunderchild, Admiral Kim launched the carrier's main weapons, relativistic kinetic projectiles that tore through the shields and hulls of 3 hegemony cruisers in the first salvo. Enemy fleet is attempting to regroup, reported Tactical Officer Bayek. They're trying to coordinate a counterattack. Jump to coordinates Beta, Jiwoo ordered. Again the Thunderchild vanished, reappearing at the opposite side of the enemy formation. Another salvo of kinetic weapons disabled 2 more cruisers before the hegemony fleet could respond. Fleet Admiral Krasnar watched in mounting horror as his ships were systematically crippled by an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will. How are they doing this, he demanded. No species has this technology. The human vessel appears capable of short-range FTL jumps without using jump points, his science officer reported. It's breaking all known laws of physics. Target that carrier with everything we have, Krasnar ordered. The remaining hegemony ships concentrated their fire where the Thunderchild had last appeared, but the human vessel had already jumped to a new position. For 2 hours, this deadly dance continued, with the Thunderchild striking, jumping away, and striking again from an unexpected direction. When the battle ended, 14 hegemony ships had been disabled or destroyed. The remaining 6, including Krasnar's flagship, retreated toward the jump point in disarray. On the Thunderchild's bridge, the crew cheered as the enemy fled. But Admiral Kim remained serious. This is just the beginning, she told her officers. They'll return with an even larger force. But now we've proven something vital. Humanity can win. And the next phase? Asked Captain Lee Sun-hee. Jiwoo's eyes gleamed with determination. We take the fight to them. There are other subjugated worlds waiting to be freed. The Hegemony Supreme Council gathered in emergency session. For the first time in centuries, the Empire faced a genuine threat. Not only had Earth successfully defended itself, but the Thunderchild had spent the past month jumping between star systems, freeing other subjugated worlds, and destroying hegemony infrastructure. This is unprecedented, declared Supreme Chancellor Morzath. The humans have visited 12 systems, inciting rebellions on every world. They must be destroyed, insisted War Minister Vrock. I have assembled our entire home fleet, 300 vessels, including 20 dreadnoughts. Earth will be reduced to atoms. The massive hegemony armada emerged from the jump point near Mars. The fleet was arranged in battle formation, with heavy dreadnoughts surrounded by cruisers and destroyers. It was the largest single force the hegemony had deployed in generations. Admiral Kim Jiwoo watched the enemy fleet on the Thunderchild's tactical display. After a month of hit-and-run victories across hegemony space, they had returned to defend Earth against this final threat. They've committed everything, observed Captain Lee Sun-hee. Just as we predicted, Jiwoo nodded. Send the signal. Communications Officer Song Haiyun activated a special encrypted channel. Signal sent, Admiral. The hegemony fleet advanced toward Earth with overwhelming force. On the flagship, Grand Admiral Zhou watched with satisfaction as they approached, the lone human carrier. "One vessel against our entire fleet," he said with contempt. "Their arrogance is astounding." His tactical officer suddenly straightened. "Sir, we're detecting new energy signatures. Impossible." From the dark side of Earth's moon, a massive ship emerged, another carrier, similar to the Thunderchild but with heavier armor. From beneath the ice of Antarctica, a third carrier rose into the atmosphere. Within the rings of Saturn, a fourth vessel powered up its engines. From the swirling clouds of Jupiter, two more enormous ships appeared. And from a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt, a seventh carrier joined the defense fleet. 7 carriers, gasped Zhou. They built 7? For 50 years, while the Thunderchild was being constructed beneath the Pacific, 6 other facilities around the solar system had been building additional carriers, each with different specializations. The Thunderchild had only been the first to be completed. Fleet Admiral John Woo Jin stood on the bridge of the EDF Stormbreaker, the carrier hidden on the moon. "All vessels report ready, Admiral Kim. Earth Defense Force is assembled." The 7 Neo human carriers formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching hegemony fleet. Each ship launched its complement of fighters, over 500 small craft swarming toward the alien vessels. "Begin the attack," ordered Admiral Kim. "All ships execute Freedom Protocol." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. The hegemony fleet had numbers and raw firepower, but the human vessels had innovation and adaptability. Earth carriers utilized short-range FTL jumps to appear within the enemy formation, fire devastating salvos, and vanish before counterattacks could land. Fighter squadrons led by Commander Choi Min-ho targeted hegemony command ships, disrupting their ability to coordinate. Weapons specialist Nam Yuri directed precision strikes that exploited previously unknown weaknesses in alien shielding technology. After 6 hours of combat, the hegemony fleet was in ruins. 83 alien vessels destroyed, 127 disabled, and the remainder retreating in disarray. For the first time in its 1,000-year history, the hegemony had suffered a decisive defeat. 3 months later, Admiral Kim Ji-woo stood in the newly constructed Galactic Concordat Hall on Earth. Representatives from 37 formerly subjugated species had gathered to sign a new alliance treaty, one based on mutual respect rather than domination. The hegemony ruled through fear and technological superiority. Ji-woo addressed the assembly. They believed they were invincible because no single world could challenge them, but they never considered what would happen if we stood together. The hegemony, its military broken and its empire crumbling as more worlds declared independence, had sent representatives to negotiate peace terms. They were forced to recognize the new alliance and accept strict limitations on their future expansion. As Ji-woo watched the signing ceremony. Captain Lee Sun-hee joined her at the viewport overlooking the Earth below. "Did you ever doubt we would succeed?" Sun-hee asked. Ji-woo smiled. "Never." The hegemony believed technology alone determined victory. They forgot that the true strength of any species lies in its spirit, and humanity's spirit could never be broken. Ji-woo nodded. 50 years of waiting, planning, and building. Tomorrow the hegemony learns what humanity is truly capable of. As the massive chambers began to drain in preparation for launching, the Thunderchild's lights powered up along its hull, illuminating the underground dock. Soon it would rise from the depths to deliver a shocking message to the alien overlords. Earth was no longer theirs to exploit. The morning sky above the Pacific Ocean dawned clear and blue. On the hegemony command cruiser, Fleet Commander Grekthal was reviewing routine reports when the alarm suddenly blared. "Massive energy signature detected in the Pacific region," reported his sensor officer, mandibles clicking with confusion. "Unknown classification, too large to be human technology." Grekthal dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper limb. "Probably a sensor malfunction. Humans are incapable of building anything our systems can't identify." The hegemony had ruled Earth for 5 decades, stripping its resources while keeping the human population under tight control. Their advanced technology and orbital weapons, Platforms had crushed any small rebellions quickly and decisively. "Sir, we're detecting coordinated attacks on our ground installations," the communications officer interrupted. "Los Angeles, Beijing, Cairo, Moscow, all reporting simultaneous assaults by human forces." Grechthal's compound eyes widened. This was unprecedented. Human resistance had always been disorganized and easily contained. Before he could issue orders, the sensor officer shouted again. "Something's coming out of the ocean." On screens throughout the ship, they watched as the Pacific waters parted. A massive dark shape emerged, water cascading off its hull as it rose from the depths. The vessel was unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen from humans. Sleek, massive, and radiating power. Most disturbing of all, it had somehow remained completely undetected until this moment. Inside the Thunderchild's command center, Admiral Kim Ji-woo stood calmly as the carrier completed its ascent. Monitors showed the shocked reactions from hegemony vessels as they scrambled to respond. "All systems operational," reported Chief Engineer Park Tae-min. "Stealth systems disengaged as planned." Ji-woo nodded. "Launch fighters. Target the command cruiser's weapons and propulsion systems." "Fighter." Commander Choi Min-ho's voice came through the comms. "All squadrons launching now." From the Thunderchild's massive launch bays, human fighters streamed into the sky, small, agile craft piloted by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Unlike the bulky hegemony vessels, the human fighters were designed for speed and maneuverability. On the hegemony command cruiser, Grechthal watched in growing horror as the swarm of human fighters approached. "Impossible. Their technology is primitive. They can't have built this." "Sir, the human vessel is powering weapon systems we've never seen before," his tactical officer reported. "Raise shields, launch countermeasures," Grechthal ordered. But it was too late. The Thunderchild's main kinetic cannon fired, sending a projectile at near relativistic speed straight through the alien command cruiser's shields. The impact tore through the vessel's central section, sending debris spinning into orbit. In her fighter, Squadron Leader Yoon Ji-eun led her pilots in attack formations the hegemony had never encountered. The aliens relied on predictable programmed responses, but humans fought with intuition and adaptability. "Falcon Squadron, target their sensor arrays," Ji-eun commanded. "Eagle Squadron, hit their engine nacelles." The human fighters darted between hegemony defensive fire, their smaller size and unpredictable movements confusing the alien targeting systems. One by one, the patrol vessels lost weapons capabilities, propulsion, or both. Back on Earth, Captain Lee Sun-hee coordinated the ground assault. Resistance fighters who had hidden for years emerged simultaneously worldwide, attacking hegemony installations with stolen alien weapons and human determination. The carefully planned uprising caught the alien garrisons completely by surprise. 2. The Thunderchild's bridge, Communications Officer Song Ha-yoon monitored hegemony transmissions. "They're calling for reinforcements from the processing fleet," she reported. "Estimated arrival in 4 days." Admiral Kim nodded calmly. "Just as we anticipated. Tactical status of orbital forces." "Command cruiser disabled. 4 patrol vessels. Neutralized. 2 retreating," reported Tactical Officer Baek Hyun-woo. Ji-woo turned to her executive officer. "Captain Lee, ground status?" "Resistance forces have captured hegemony headquarters in 37 major cities," Lee Sun-hee reported, via comlink. "Alien governors are either captured or in retreat." For the first time in 5 decades, the Admiral allowed herself a small smile. "Begin Phase 2. Deploy ground forces to secure hegemony technology centers. Communications, broadcast our message planet-wide." Throughout Earth, on every screen and communication device, Admiral Kim's face appeared. Her voice was steady and determined as she addressed humanity. "People of Earth, today we reclaim our home. The hegemony believed us weak and primitive. They were wrong. This is just the beginning. The enemy will return with greater forces, but we are ready. 50 years of oppression ends today. In orbit, The remaining hegemony vessels fled toward the jump point, carrying news that would shock the Empire. The primitive humans had somehow built technology that rivaled their own, and the supposedly subjugated Earth was now an open, coordinated rebellion. The Hegemony Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Krasnar played the footage from Earth. The supposedly primitive humans had not only built an advanced warship, but had successfully driven off the garrison fleet. For the first time in centuries, a subject world had successfully rebelled. "Impossible," shouted Defense Minister Vrock. They were under constant surveillance. Their technology was restricted to pre-space levels. High Chancellor Morzath raised a hand for silence. "Clearly our intelligence was flawed. Deploy the 7th Battle Fleet immediately. This rebellion must be crushed before other worlds follow their example." 4 days after Earth's initial victory, Admiral Kim Ji-woo stood on the Thunderchild's bridge studying tactical displays of the approaching hegemony reinforcements. The enemy fleet consisted of 20 capital ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. "They've arrived at the jump point near Jupiter," reported Tactical Officer Baek Hyun-woo. "Estimated arrival at Earth orbit in 6 hours." Ji-woo nodded calmly. "Bring the ship to full combat readiness. Prepare all fighter squadrons." Navigation Officer Yoon Ji-eun approached with a concerned expression. "Admiral, even with our advanced technology, we can't defeat a fleet that size alone." "We won't be fighting alone," Ji-woo replied with a slight smile. "Activate the nebula network." Throughout the solar system, stealth satellites designed by scientist Kang Do-hyun powered up. These devices had been secretly deployed over decades, positioned at strategic points around jump gates and major flight paths. Now they created a field that disrupted hegemony faster than light communications. Earth's hidden supercarrier shocks the galactic empire. 50 years had passed since the massive ships of the hegemony darkened Earth's skies. What started as a peaceful first contact quickly turned into humanity's worst nightmare. The aliens, with their sleek purple vessels and advanced technology, had not come to share knowledge but to conquer. Admiral Kim Ji-woo stood at the viewport of the underground facility, remembering the day when the hegemony delivered their ultimatum. She had been just a child then, clutching her father's hand as the broadcasts showed Earth's combined military forces being obliterated within hours. The aliens' weapons had turned aircraft carriers into twisted metal and reduced military bases to smoking craters. "Submit or be exterminated," the translator had conveyed in flat tones. Earth's nations, faced with extinction, chose submission. Now at 63, Ji-woo's once black hair had turned silver, but her determination remained undiminished. The hegemony had turned Earth into a mining colony, stripping its resources, while keeping humans technologically stunted. They established puppet governments, enforced harsh quotas, and maintained orbital weapons platforms that could target any sign of rebellion. "Admiral, the final systems check is complete," said Park Taemin, approaching with a tablet. At 45, he was the youngest chief engineer in the project, brilliant but cautious. "The stealth systems exceed expectations. The hegemony scanners still can't detect us," Ji-woo nodded. "And the weapons? Ready. We've successfully incorporated the alien technology we've stolen over the decades. Our kinetic cannons can punch through their shields." They stood in a vast underground chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean, a secret facility built before the surrender. Here, hidden from alien scanners by kilometers of water and special materials, Project Thunderchild had slowly taken shape, humanity's best hope disguised as a deep-sea mining operation. The EDF Thunderchild was unlike anything humans had built before. It combined stolen hegemony technology with human innovation, resulting in a warship that could challenge the aliens on equal terms. Nearly a kilometer long, it housed fighters, weapon systems, and revolutionary engines that didn't rely on the standard jump points the hegemony controlled. "The crew is ready," Lee Sun-hee reported, joining them at the viewport. As head of security, she had spent decades building a secret network of resistance cells across Earth. "Our people are in position at all key hegemony installations. We can coordinate the global uprising when you give the order." Ji-woo turned to face her senior staff. "New intelligence confirms our worst fears. The hegemony doesn't plan to keep Earth as a colony indefinitely. They've scheduled us for processing within the next 3 months. Processing. The euphemism made her stomach turn. They had discovered what this meant by intercepting hegemony communications. It involved stripping a planet of all valuable resources, including its atmosphere and oceans, leaving behind nothing but a barren rock. Billions would die. The processing fleet will arrive next week, Zhou continued. Sooner than we expected. We have no choice but to launch now. Her officers exchanged glances. They had planned for another month of preparation, but there was no time left. What about the other carriers? Asked Taimin. Not ready, Zhou replied. Thunderchild will have to go alone. The project had originally planned for 7 carriers, but only Thunderchild was complete. The others remained in various stages of construction at hidden facilities around the solar system. Alert the resistance, Zhou ordered. We launch in 48 hours. As her officers hurried to their stations, Zhou remained at the viewport, looking at the massive shape of Thunderchild floating in the flooded construction bay. 50 years of secret work, 3 generations of engineers and scientists who had lived and died underground, all for this moment. The hegemony believed humans were primitive, incapable of advanced thought or organization. They saw Earth as nothing but a resource to be used and discarded. Their arrogance would be their downfall. They think they know us, Zhou whispered to herself. They think we're broken and tamed. They're wrong. 2 days later, as the hegemony garrison conducted routine patrols, they detected unusual seismic activity in the Pacific. Their sensors registered a massive object rising from the ocean depths. Before they could respond, their communication satellites went dark, and resistance cells across the planet launched coordinated attacks on alien installations. As Thunderchild broke the surface in a massive spray of seawater, Admiral Kim Ji-woo gave the order that would change the fate of Earth forever. All weapons free. Show them who we really are. The vast underwater chamber hummed with activity as engineers and technicians made final adjustments to the EDF Thunderchild. The Supercarrier floated in the massive flooded dock, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Chief, Engineer Park Taimin moved through the organized chaos, checking systems and giving final instructions to his team. Primary weapons are green, reported weapons specialist Nam Yuri, her eyes focused on the diagnostic screen. The kinetic launchers are calibrated and loaded. Taimin nodded with satisfaction. The revolutionary weapon systems incorporated principles the hegemony had never considered. While alien ships relied on energy beams that could be defended against, with proper shielding, the Thunderchild's main weapons fired specially designed projectiles at near relativistic speeds. No shield could stop something with that much mass and energy. Stealth systems? Taimin asked, moving to the next station. Operating at 98% efficiency, replied Kang Do-hyun, the lead scientist responsible for the carrier's unprecedented stealth technology. The outer hull absorbs sensor waves rather than reflecting them. We've mimicked the electrical field dampening of deep-sea creatures. To hegemony scanners, will appear as nothing more than background radiation. The breakthrough had come from studying Earth's oceans, something the land-evolved hegemony species had little experience with. Do-hyun had discovered how to replicate the bioelectric camouflage of certain marine animals on a massive scale. In the command center above the dock, Admiral Kim Ji-woo reviewed the final operation plans with her senior officers. Tactical displays showed the positions of hegemony forces throughout the solar system. The garrison fleet consists of 1 command cruiser and 6 patrol vessels, reported Tactical Officer Baek Hyun-woo, pointing to the orbital positions. Their processing fleet will arrive through the jump point near Jupiter in approximately 5 days. Ji-woo studied the display with narrowed eyes. What's the status of our fighter squadrons? Fighter Commander Choi Min-ho stepped forward. All pilots ready, Admiral. 48 fighters and 12 bombers fully armed and fueled. The fighters were perhaps their greatest advantage. While hegemony ships were massive and powerful, they relied on automated defense systems rather than piloted small craft. Human pilots, with their intuition and adaptability, would be facing only computer-controlled defensive systems. And the resistance cells? Ji-woo asked. Communications Officer Song Ha-yoon consulted her tablet. All ground teams confirm readiness. They'll strike hegemony installations simultaneously when we emerge. Jiwoo nodded and turned to address all her officers. What we're about to attempt has never been done. No subjugated world has ever successfully rebelled against the hegemony. But no world had 50 years to prepare either. She moved to the viewport overlooking the massive carrier. The hegemony believes us incapable of advanced technology. They think we're primitive, obedient slaves. Their arrogance will be their downfall. Below, technicians were loading the last of the supplies onto the carrier. Over 3,000 crew members would be on board: engineers, pilots, marines, and technical specialists. Many had been born in the underground facility, never seeing the sky, dedicated from birth to this mission. Navigation? Jiwoo asked. Navigation Officer Yoon Ji-eun looked up from her calculations. All plotted, Admiral. Once we surface, we'll have a clear route to engage the command cruiser. After neutralizing orbital forces, we can deploy to protect population centers from ground garrisons. Jiwoo turned to face her executive officer, Captain Lee Sun-hee. Any word from the other facilities? Sun-hee shook her head. Still silent as planned. The Antarctica base confirms their carrier is 70% complete, but not ready for deployment. The others are further behind. This was the greatest risk. The Thunderchild would have to face the hegemony alone. The other carriers, hidden beneath Antarctica, inside hollowed asteroids and within Jupiter's clouds, wouldn't be ready for months. Then we go with what we have, Jiwoo decided. Begin boarding procedures. We launch in 12 hours. As the command staff dispersed to their stations, Jiwoo remained at the viewport. The Thunderchild represented humanity's defiance, built in secret over generations. Many who had started the project hadn't lived to see it completed. Her own father, the brilliant naval architect who designed the carrier's initial plans, had died 20 years ago. We're ready, Taemin said, joining her at the viewport.